hybrid defensive player has slowly evolved throughout the past decade to combat the increasing usage of spread-heavy schemes and air raid offenses. First came Tyrann Mathieu, who plays safety just as well as he covers the slot, can mix in at linebacker, and cover receivers on the outside just for kicks. In 2017, that hybrid style evolved to perhaps its highest iteration, Derwin James. He does everything Mathieu can do, but wrapped in a bigger package, which has intensified the complexity of the Chargers' defensive scheme. No hybrid defender with that size and speed has displayed that level of versatility. That is, until Clemson's Isaiah Simmons came along. Simmons is the taller, heavier, faster version of James and towers 7 inches over Mathieu and outweighs him by 50 pounds. Simmons embodies the very nature of a hybrid defensive player. In 2019, he played at least 100 snaps at 5 different positions. He can defend the run in between the tackles or cover running backs and tight ends from inside linebacker, rushes the passer from the edge in a 3-4, covers every inch of the third level at both safety positions, and can blitz from anywhere on the field. That blend of positional flexibility is enticing for all NFL teams, but it does not come without its risks. If you create a hybrid role in your defense, you're setting that player up for epic success or crushing failure. Will he be moved all around the field, dominating every area of the game at every position? Or will he be stretched too thin, fail to master the finer details of each position until it's too late for him to settle into one spot and ultimately disappoint? Let's go over Simmons' many strengths, and then later analyze some of the concerns with his game. To give you an idea of what kind of a freak athlete this guy is at 6'4", 238 pounds, his 4.3 940 is faster than Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, and Jalen Ramsey. He was a sprinter and long jumper in high school, and that speed combined with his size gives him unlimited potential. Teams covet that combination and positional versatility because of the flexibility it provides them week to week, series to series, down to down. If you have Simmons on your team, there is no such thing as an offensive mismatch. Running backs will not beat him in space, tight ends will not body him up or knock him over, he can run with any receiver and cover any route. His speed inside the tackle box is insane, and he uses it to eliminate many parts of the opponent's game plan. Clemson loved to position him as a quarterback spy, which freed him to hunt whoever had the ball, taking away the mobile part of a mobile quarterback's game. There was a great example of that against Louisville, who tried to use the zone read, or what some people call the read option, to gain a numbers advantage in the box. Usually, defenses have one more player in the box than the offense has blockers. The defense wants to put a hat on a hat and have their extra defender free to chase down the ball carrier. Offenses will use the zone read to steal back that advantage and even out the numbers. Since Clemson has 8 defenders in the box and Louisville has just 7 blockers, the zone read is perfect. The play usually targets the defense's best player and leaves him completely unblocked so the quarterback can read his movement. If the defender crashes inside, the QB keeps the ball, and if he sits for the quarterback, the running back flies through the open lane. This benefits the offense in several ways. It evens the numbers in the box, creates an extra double team at the point of attack, and neutralizes the most dangerous defender on the field. Or at least, it tries to. You can tell Louisville is trying to specifically read Simmons when they shift the 2 tight ends over to his side. They want as many blockers to the read side as possible so they can create lanes for the running back. When the quarterback gets the snap, his eyes go immediately to Simmons. With the tight end sealing the gap and the safety beginning to take a poor angle, Simmons needs to essentially guard 2 players at once. He uses a squeeze and pop technique where he squeezes the lane for the running back, forcing the quarterback to keep the ball, then pops to the outside, showcasing his speed, length, and agility to secure the edge and tackle the QB for a loss. Simmons can run sideline to sideline in the blink of an eye and takes away several elements of an offense's game plan. The more you can remove bits and pieces of an offense's scheme, the more that offense becomes vanilla and one-dimensional. Even if you game plan around Simmons taking those elements away, you still have to account for the 100 other things he can do. Heck, even me just sitting here watching the All-22, I struggle to locate where he's lined up each and every play. 1 second he's on the ball, and the next he's playing as a deep third safety 30 yards down the field. Because he can cover any offensive skill position, that versatility helps the defense create false coverage indicators for the quarterback, and in Clemson's system, any player from any position can blitz at will. When Simmons aligns over the tight end, it looks like man coverage, but you don't know if he's blitzing off the edge, playing an underneath zone, or actually covering the tight end. You certainly wouldn't expect him to play a deep freaking third in cover 3 zone, but that's exactly what he does. That is not normal. You don't see that in college, and you rarely see that in the NFL. With his great variety of skills, you have to become accustomed to seeing him do things you've never really seen a player at that size do before. When you do start to feel comfortable telling yourself, alright, this freak of nature linebacker is playing a deep third in the middle of the field. That's when he rotates over and plays a deep half. Clemson loves ambiguous man zone looks, which leaves quarterback Justin Fields with no idea what the hell they're doing. On 3rd and 8, it looks like man coverage with the defenders head up on the receivers. Even though they're playing way off the ball, it's 3rd and long, so it's definitely possible. Simmons is playing the dead middle of the field like he has been several times already, so this is probably either that man look or cover 3 zone. What Fields is not expecting is a cover 2 zone with cat pressure, and he's definitely not expecting Simmons to cover from the middle of the field all the way to the sideline. Ohio State has a vertical concept to stress the coverage deep. Fields has seen this corner zone bail with his flanked receiver all game, so when he gets that surprise cat pressure, he's immediately looking to hit the outside vertical. Clemson is expecting Fields to throw hot to beat the blitz, so their safety takes a flat angle to cut off that potential quick throw at the sticks instead of peeling with the vertical and covering it deep. Fields identifies that safety's angle and knows when that receiver runs past him, the space up the sideline is wide open. When the running back picks up the blitzing corner, Clemson is dead in the water. The last thing you want is to blitz without creating pressure because you have less defenders who now need to cover more space. What Fields isn't expecting is a linebacker to cover an entire deep half. At the snap, Simmons rolls to cover that half, and when he recognizes the receiver going vertical, flies to the sideline and makes a game-changing play in the college playoffs. This type of range from a player with this size is just rare. He can truly shrink the field and burn up turf, and he's not even running at full speed. He has that range deep, but he also has range inside the box. He can close holes and narrow gaps from any depth, and he uses his speed and agility to limit runs that could turn into explosive plays downfield. Ohio State's running back J.K. Dobbins, who ended this game with 175 yards and had already broken several 50-yard gains, is lined up in shotgun next to Fields. It's crunch time with 6 minutes left in the 4th quarter, and Ohio State ahead by 2 points. They're running 19 wide zone from the gun, which is a zone run where they'll try and create an edge on the outside for Dobbins so he can turn up the sideline and pick up yards. Simmons' job is the alley defender, which means if Dobbins does manage to turn that corner, he will fill that open alley to cut off the play. Clemson positions just 3 defensive linemen on the line of scrimmage, which allows Ohio State to create 3 different double teams. In outside zone, Dobbins is supposed to read each defender from the outside in, and he does have that edge when the tight end seals it off. But instead, his eye immediately goes to the monstrous hole in the weak side A-gap. This is called a false hole. It appears to be open, but with linebacker Chad Smith scraping over the top and Simmons peeking through, Dobbins knows he's going to cut this to the backside. To make sure the run is effective, he does what all good backs do and presses the hole to set up his blocks. He wants to run as deep into this hole as possible to manipulate the defenders into jumping into that gap so they get caught in the trash and out of position. Simmons recognizes that false hole and isn't easily fooled. Even though Dobbins gives him a good hard fake into that A-gap, he doesn't take the bait. He plants his foot, swings open his hips, and flies at Dobbins, who is quickly accelerating up the field. Simmons just covered like 5 gaps and saved what could have been a game-sealing touchdown. From the wide view, you can see just how critical this play was. The deep safety takes a poor angle when Dobbins presses that hole, and if Simmons doesn't flip his hips and burst towards the sideline, Clemson might never have gone to the college championship. And you can tell Justin Fields knows just how close this was to hitting big. Now, despite Simmons' incredible gifts and otherworldly athletic ability, there are still plenty of concerns. At times, he relies too much on his natural instincts and tries to beat players in a foot race rather than taking the proper angle to the ball. Occasionally, he operates more as a sprinter, which obviously makes sense due to his background, where he'll run straight upright and doesn't manage to get his pads low enough to create leverage and use every bit of that explosive 238-pound frame. This leads to missed tackles or smaller blockers pushing him around. When he is one-on-one hunting a ball carrier and has a straight line to glory, that guy is gonna get smoked. But if Simmons has to weave through traffic or drop his pads to take on a blocker one-on-one, he is not consistently smashing players like you would think. Another concern is where he actually fits into an NFL defense. If a team thinks that he's ready to slot in at one position and you can just plug him in, ready to go day one superstar, they're wrong. Simmons needs to refine his technique over pretty much all of the positions he plays and hasn't mastered the intricacies of any one spot on the field. His hybrid style makes it very difficult to project him into a specific defensive role or scheme, and that's a real turnoff for a lot of teams. It's not easy to just plunk a hybrid defender into your system, and when he's drafted, that team will have to rework the majority of their scheme if they want him to be that special kind of player. Bringing someone like that in affects every other guy on that defense. It affects their roles, jobs, and style of play as well. And a lot of teams who have an established identity, culture, and philosophy might shy away from that challenge. That's why I think he is the perfect fit in Carolina with rookie head coach Matt Rule. The Panthers are overhauling their defense and really their entire team, and with Luke Kuechly retiring and many key pieces leaving, they need to rebuild that very culture and philosophy. They could start fresh and build around Simmons. Instead of jamming him into one specific job, they could create a system around him from the ground up. If the Panthers draft him and let him roam the entire defense, free him up to see ball, hit ball, search and destroy while flying sideline to sideline, he has all the makings of a future All-Pro. But that's a big if. He has everything you could want in a top 5 draft pick, and if he's got the right system, coach, and defensive philosophy surrounding him, he is the next great hybrid weapon. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe so you can catch all future content. Right off the bat, I want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon supporters, and I recently had a few people ask me how I get the All 22 for college and where they can go find it. Unfortunately, there's not one go-to place like there is for NFL Game Pass, which by the way is free right now, so go check that out. And that college film is really hard to come by. I pretty much get it through trading with coaches, and because it's such a hot commodity and I appreciate everyone in our Patreon community so much, I'll open my entire college film library to all my supporters. It really is the best way to watch a game and study all the little nuances of what's going on. So, if you want in on that, or you're already a supporter anyway, check out Patreon and you can gain access to everything I've got. I hope everybody is staying safe and that you have plenty of toilet paper left, because God knows there isn't too much of that going around. And if you have any prospects you want me to do an episode on, just let me know in the comments below. Hopefully, Jordan Love is coming next week. If my guy sends me the film, then I can give him the proper evaluation, because right now I only have 2 games, and that's just not quite enough to get a full report on him. If you're out there listening and you have Utah State 2019 film, please send it my way. So yeah, that's gonna do it. Until next Saturday, see ya.